Hello, gorgeous entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 169, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/169. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you how I overcame a business growth plateau. And before we dive in, I want to reassure you that business plateaus do happen to us all. They are a normal part of being in business. But if one is starting to get on your nerves and you want to have some strategies to overcome that plateau and go into the next phase of your business growth, this is going to be a super helpful episode for you. So let's dive in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart Centered Business Podcast. First and foremost, in order to overcome my business growth plateau, I needed to get really honest with myself about the fact that I was in one. I'd had 3 launches in a row that had capped out at about $70,000 to $75,000 in income, and I had set the goal for all 3 of them to have a 6-figure launch. So by doing my income tracking and tracking the results of my launches, I was able to see that I was nudging up against this seemingly upper limit. So the first thing that I needed to do in order to overcome my plateau was to recognize that the plateau existed in the first place. If you do not track your business income every single day, daily money tracking is one of the non-negotiable habits that I have set for myself, and I highly recommend you practice as an online business owner. This allows me to focus on my income every single day, pay attention to my income, my thoughts and my feelings about that income. And also I love using progress art to set myself stretch income goals and really go for them and track my progress towards them every single day. This one habit of tracking my income every day has helped me to recognize how much I let low income and no income days impact on my energy and mindset and become more resilient to those wobbles when I had low or no income days. But also daily income tracking is what has helped me to identify when I'm hitting an upper limit as well. So sometimes my big mindset wobbles happen when I have huge income results in my business. It's not just about dealing with the negative feelings when there's no income or low income. It's also dealing a bit with those upper limits when there's big income or, unexpected income as well. So that habit of tracking my income every single day helped me to see I had a comfort zone. My comfort zone was a certain minimum level of income, but also a certain maximum level of income. So if you do not track your income every day and you'd like to give progress art a go as a strategy for tracking your income every day, make sure you come to the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/169, and I'll make sure I link to my progress art freebie resource that talks about why income tracking is so powerful, how to embed a daily income tracking practice, and also gives you some artworks to have a little play with so you can see if income tracking through progress art works for you as well. Okay, so once we've identified that there's a business growth plateau, how do we overcome it? What do we do? I always start with mindset first. The reason being is that I know when I implement strategy solutions on a solid grounding of really resilient mindset, abundance mindset, expansive mindset, those strategies are far more effective. So I start with mindset first. The things that I look for are: 1, what is safe about this income level or this business growth level? So for my launches all tapping out at about 75,000, it wasn't actually the income amount per se. What was safe was the number of students who were joining at one time. I felt like my capacity to hold space for that many students was my upper limit, right? It was safe for me to welcome in 50 students into my program, but no more than 50 students into my program. If there were more than 50 that came in one go, how on earth would I be able to make sure I was meeting all their needs, that I was getting to know them, that I was really understanding what they were looking for from me. So there was a safety thing around the numbers. Secondly, I look at what it means, right? What does it mean to hit $75,000 in a launch? So for you, it might not be a launch level of income that you're plateauing. It might be a monthly income level or a weekly income level. So whatever the income is for you, a way to tune into what does it mean? What am I making it mean? Is to calculate from this income amount per month. If I times that by 12, right? If it's a monthly income amount, let's say you're hitting an income plateau of $9,000 a month and $10,000 a month is your goal, but you just can't seem to hit it. So what I would do is times that amount by 12. So 10,000 by 12. So that's 120,000, right? And ask, what is the symbolism or what does the income level of $120,000 mean? So for me, I was making it mean I was losing connection with my audience because there was too many people. I couldn't hold space for all of my clients. And so there have been other times where I've had income levels and upper limits that have come about because of the symbolism of a certain amount of money. So I remember when I first hit $165,000 a year in my business, it was in my, towards the end of my first year of business, my monthly income when I times it out was $165,000. And the reason why that was symbolic was that was my salary that I'd left behind to start my business. So it felt really uncomfortable just 1 year after starting my business to be out earning the money that I had got from my corporate job. Now, the reason why it was feeling uncomfortable and what I was making it mean was that I had worked for years in that career to get to that income level. And I then left it all behind, started my own business, and I got back up to that income level really quickly. And what I was making that mean was I hadn't earned it. I hadn't worked at this long enough. I hadn't worked at this hard enough. And so therefore, I must be taking advantage of people. I was making it mean so many things subconsciously. And I could see that it was creating this energetic income level and it was creating this upper limit. So I just got really clear on what was safe about the income plateau. What was I making it mean, or what meaning did it have for me about going over that plateau? And then I also like to use 2 mindset techniques to just tune into and uncover what's underneath this, or is there anything else that I'm not spotting here? So I look at what would be the negative consequences of going any higher than this, right? If I went higher than this, if I got more than this, what would be the negative consequences of that? So when I worked in corporate, I earned, very well, and my friends and family knew I earned very good money in my corporate role. So when I went out to dinners with my friends or we went out to drinks, I shouted, right? I was out earning my friends when I worked in corporate. And so I would shout for drinks, or I would always shout coffee, or, would go out to lunch and I'd say, it's all right, I've got this one, right? Because it felt fair to me. I have a lot of stuff around fairness, and it felt unfair that they would have to pay for lunch when I earned far more than them. But what was happening for me when the negative consequences exercise came up was I could see I was worried because $165,000 in business income is not $165,000 in your pocket, right? I was I didn't have as much spare or disposable disposable income at my disposal, right? And so one of the perceived negative consequences that was completely unconscious until I actually sat down and got honest with myself about what I was worried about was that I didn't feel like I had the same level of disposable income as being in corporate. But now if I out-earned that, I would be expected to shout everyone dinner again, right? Now, that's not at all what my friends and family's expectation was. It was just that it was an unconscious worry. It was an unconscious concern of what a negative consequence might be of getting any more successful. I also had a little negative consequence come up for me around out earning my mentor. So in my first year of business, I worked with a number of different mentors, and I out earned them very quickly. Very quickly. So two mentors in particular that I worked with in the early stages of my business were still very open about the fact that they were working towards having 10K months. And I had a 20K month in my 6th month of business. And so I was worried if my business got too big that I would make my mentors feel bad because I had out earned them. And so you can see, even though on the surface level, if you ask me like, well, what's wrong with earning more than $165,000 a year, Tash? I'd be like, nothing. I want $1 million business, right? At that point in time, I was very ambitious about where my business was going. And I had very big goals that I wanted to get towards as quickly as possible. And so on the surface level, of course, there's no negative consequences of more money. But when I took the time to actually uncover it and pay attention, I could see that consciously, subconsciously, even unconsciously, there had been some little worries boiling around, and with some journaling and free writing and paying attention to those pop-up thoughts, I could see what those negative consequences might be and make the conscious decision to let those go. And so one of the big tools that I use for mindset and, moving away from or clearing out some of those mindset blocks is using EFT or tapping. So I love doing EFT. So I did a lot of tapping, and I do that very much, like very consistently in my business, even to this day. But particularly when I can see I've got a plateau, I do a lot of tapping to overcome any of those mindset blocks and clear out any of those negative consequences or limiting beliefs. Another thing I like to use is turnarounds. So for example, I might have a worry that people are going to think I'm too big for my boots, right? If I make too much money, people think I'm too big for my boots. So I do a turnaround as a little mantra that helps me to remind myself that that's actually not true. So the turnaround for being too big for my boots is I'm building a business where people celebrate and applaud my success and they are inspired by it. Yeah. So if I had the negative consequence of my mentors would feel bad if I out-earned them, I would instead turn it around and say, I'm building a business where my mentors are excited that I'm out earning them and one of their biggest success stories. So you can see how that negative consequence being turned around, or that limiting belief being turned around. And I love using the opening line, I'm building a business where, right? And then I would just keep saying that to myself. I'm building a business where my mentors see my success as their success. I'm building a business where I can be their best success story. And so therefore they're happy for me to out earn them, right? I'm building a business where I'm so tuned into my strengths and abilities that I just skyrocket my income really easily. So it's a really powerful way for me to just remind myself consistently, everything's okay. I also love Denise Duffield-Thomas, one of my money mentors. She uses mantras that start with "it's safe to." So it's safe for me to out earn my mentor. It's safe for me to earn more than I used to in corporate. It's safe for me to be seen online as successful and financially successful. So there's lots of different ways that I support that really powerful, resilient growth mindset. And I do the mindset work first. Whenever I notice a plateau, I start with the mindset work. Second is that I pick a growth strategy. So I come up with a way to really navigate, well, how am I going to grow from here? What is the business strategy I'm going to use to overcome this plateau? So in the initial stages, when I saw my launch results were plateauing at the $75,000 mark, I actually got really real with myself. Do I want more than 50 people to join the takeoff program at a time? Or do I need to do some work on making that easier for me and being able to hold space for those people? And in the meantime, is there another way I can increase the income without increasing the number of people? The obvious answer there is put the price up. So that's when I decided to increase the price of the takeoff program. So I didn't need to have more than 50 people join. I could just set the goal of having 50 people join the takeoff program, but at a higher price. And with that higher price, I was able to overcome my income plateau. So sometimes the growth strategy is to increase the price. Sometimes the growth strategy is to increase the number of sales, increase your reach, increase your lead generation, or the growth strategy is to create something new. For me, the 3 times I've overcome my biggest income growth, my biggest income plateaus have been price increases, launches, and then focusing down on one existing offer instead of having multiple offers. So I've had 3 really big plateau times in my business, and 3 times I applied different strategies. So for the $75,000 launch, I did a price increase. When I was hitting that income plateau at the 165K mark in my business in the early stages, I did a big launch of my VIP package to prove to myself I could totally go higher than 165,000. The following year in my business, my income level almost doubled. It was about 300,000. Then in the 3rd time I hit an income plateau, what I recognized in the strategy part was that I had over 30 different products and services that people could buy from me. And that was confusing my audience, but it also meant I was juggling a bunch of different products and services at once. So it was confusing for me, it was confusing for my audience, and it didn't allow me to give each launch the time and space and energy that it needed to actually maximize my results. So most of the conversion in a launch comes in the last period of that launch. But because I was trying to launch so many different products and services in a row, what that meant was when I got to the last week or the last 10 days of the launch, I was already thinking about the next launch, and I kind of checked out of the launch I was in at the very point in time when my conversion should be spiking. So the part of the launch where the conversion happens, where most of the income comes in, where the big results were happening, I wasn't being present to those launches because I had far too many offers. So my growth strategy at that point in time to overcome that plateau was actually to narrow the number of options of how people could work with me. But I do want to be 100% clear here that all of those growth strategies actually would have been harder for me to actually see and implement if I hadn't dealt with the mindset stuff first. Because if I don't pay attention to my mindset, if I'm not really conscious about what's really going on here, my natural answer is generally, I'll just work a little harder, or I'll just promote a little more, or I'll just do another marketing thing, or I'll build a new thing. So it's important to me as an ideator, as a creator, as someone who is, very quick to problem solve, usually with a new, fresh idea. It's important for me to make sure my mindset is resilient and strong, and I'm in an expansive space without jumping into fear-based strategy. If I build my strategy based on fear and a wobbly mindset, it will most likely require work harder, push harder, work longer hours, and that doesn't help anyone. So I work on the mindset first, and then I build my growth strategy. So growth strategies is thousands and thousands of things that you can choose from, but I do love asking the question, can we increase the prices? Can we bring in a bunch of leads in en masse using a launch? And can we somehow focus down on your existing offers and narrow the options for people to work with you so you can give each product and service the time and space and energy it needs to really shine in your business? Then my final step, once I've got strong mindset, clear strategy, is to set a goal and enlist the help of my team to make sure that I see the strategy through. So I don't go for busting through an income plateau on my own. As an extrovert, connector archetype, someone who's an obliger in the tendencies, as a people person, I know that one of the defaults that I can sort of revert to is all the weight needs to go on my shoulders. All the weight needs to go on my shoulders. Now, I know that this comes from my history in being a carer for my mum, some of my family of origin stories, things that used to happen in my corporate workplace, right? My default mechanism is no one else needs to worry about this. Like, I'm a big nurturer, like everyone else needs to be taken care of. I will put the load on my own shoulders. So when I'm wanting to overcome an income plateau, I'm very mindful of setting the goal, but getting my team on board to help me with it. And if I get my team on board to help me with it, including Davey, my partner, and my business team, then I'm far more likely to overcome that plateau without burning myself out or overloading myself. So that is my 3-step strategy of how I've overcome business growth plateaus in my business. Mindset first, then a growth strategy, then set the goal and recruit your team to help you with it. And of course, as I said, the only way I identify that plateau is if I'm consistently tracking my income and paying attention to my mindset about my income as well. So if you want to grab that free income tracking resource, make sure you head to the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/169. Thanks so much for joining me today. And until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.